What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson, to react to yet another embarrassing New York Giants loss, 34-24 at home versus the 49ers. The 49ers had more fans there than Giants fans, arguably. I mean, it was a sea of red at one point in that stadium, and I don't blame Giants fans for maybe not showing up. The team is 2-6, and even as a 2-6 team, they play like they're afraid to lose. That's what we saw today. Brian Daboll, his coaching staff, they just don't know what they're doing. They can't figure it out. This defense was embarrassing again today. Missed tackles, can't stop the run, can't stop a nosebleed, playing man coverage and getting cooked. And then offensively, you got this young, promising rookie quarterback, Jackson Dart, still very impressive, playing through all this adversity and looked really good. No turnovers today, 3 total touchdowns, but also dealing with terrible play calling in the red zone. Terrible decision making from head coach Brian Daboll on when to go for it and when not to. And a lot of drops, crucial drops, touchdown passes being dropped. The poor kid needs help. I got the Jackson Dart eye black on. I was so excited for this game. I was like, man, listen, Jackson Dart's going to pull off the upset. Let's go. No, not even close. This Giants team was playing from behind pretty much all game other than the first possession. And it's just another bad loss in a string of bad losses and bad seasons for the New York Giants. So, Alex, I know you have a lot to get off your chest, as do I, but let's go ahead, kick it off. How are you feeling after that loss, and what was your biggest takeaway?
How do these guys have jobs? How am I doing after this loss? Did I expect us to win? No. As a Giants fan, I don't really expect us to win any games. But after that, after watching that game, specifically, and many others, to be fair, how is Brian Daboll employed? How is Shane Bowen employed? Mike Kafka, with 30 seconds and no timeout, ran a running back draw from 20 yards out in the red zone with no timeouts left, when Jackson Dart's been slinging the rock all day. This coaching staff is the worst coaching staff in the game, bar none. There is no other team, no other coaching staff that is as piss poor as this one. Brian Daboll, you have an opportunity to go for it on fourth down, get some momentum, inject some energy into your team, make this a one-possession game. But instead, this fucking genius goes from 2-possession game to 2-possession game. Logically, does that make sense? 2-possession to 2-possession game. Does that make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to anyone on Twitter. It doesn't make anyone sense with half a brain in the freaking stadium. This dude elected to kick a field goal on 4th and goal from 3 yards out with Jackson Dart, who's been crushing it, killing it. Let him make something happen. You want to know what type of coach does that? A soft one. Charmin Ultra Soft. I ordered a bunch of toilet paper as soft as that bum Brian Daboll this week. At least I get use out of that toilet paper. At least I can wipe my ass with that toilet paper. Because Brian Daboll went in that freaking game and played like he has not nothing to lose, but he played like his job was safe. He coached like his job was safe. And that is why he has to be fired. Because he doesn't feel the urgency. He doesn't feel the need to make this a one-possession game when you have your backs against the wall and your defense is shredded like a chicken Chipotle bowl. You have to be aggressive. And he picks and chooses his moments. And I am beyond done with his bullshit. I am done with his logical, inept attitude, his mishaps that happen weekly, his lack of clock management, time management, situational awareness. This dude is not doing a goddamn thing. He has zero clue what's going on. I don't even think he's actually coaching. I think he's just standing around yelling at people. Because there is no rationale that suggests he makes any good decisions when they need to be made. He is emotional, and he doesn't make the right calls ever. And he has a chance to give your quarterback a chance to get back in this game, give it some energy, and he just won't let him do it. But then he'll run him head first with the game already over on a freaking run, on a QB draw. Blasphemous levels of incompetency. Blasphemous. You could pluck a high school coach with more competency than this guy. And Shane Bowen will get to him. I'm sorry, Anthony. I'm coming in hot. I got a lot of anger to get off my chest today. But what I saw from this organization, what I saw from this coaching staff today was general malpractice across the board, and it can't be the standard anymore.
All right, listen, you said something specific there that I need to touch on. You said Charmin Ultra Soft. You were talking about Brian Daboll. Let's apply that to Deonte Banks. Brian
Him
Robinson
too.
Jr. embarrassed Deontay Banks today. And this is not the first time that Deontay Banks has been embarrassed.
Every
I
game.
don't think the
Every
guy
game.
actually gets embarrassed. I just don't think he cares enough to get embarrassed because he lets players run through him on a consistent basis, puts in the least amount of effort possible every time he has an opportunity to make a touchdown saving tackle, because that's what he had there, an opportunity to save a touchdown, and he did not care enough to actually be the low man and win on that tackle. He just walked up to him, tried to hug him up top on his shoulders, got ran through and said, whatever, go ahead and score, Brian Robinson. Meanwhile, you're talking about Brian Robinson Jr., Alex. This is a guy who averaged 10 yards per carry today with 53 yards rushing on 5 carries. And you had Christian McCaffrey go for 106 yards on 28 carries. That's almost 4 yards per carry. That's 2 touchdowns on the ground. And also, how about this? 2 touchdowns through the air from Mac Jones, who did not have an incompletion until the third quarter. Mac Jones! We are not talking about Tom Brady. We are talking about Mac Jones. He didn't have an incompletion until the third quarter. Why does Shane Bowen still have this job? It perplexes me. I can't understand how you watch the product of this defense. And this is a defense, Alex, that is the 5th highest paid defense in the NFL this season. This is a talented defense. They've got 2 top 5 picks on the defensive line. They traded a second away for Brian Burns, who is looking like a defensive player of the year caliber season right now. You've got Dexter Lawrence, a former All-Pro. You are paying your linebacker, Bobby Okereke, $10 million per season. There is a lot invested into this defense, and there truly is talent on this defense just being wasted. That's what I'm seeing from the coaching staff. I'm seeing wasted potential and wasted talent. And to quote a Bronx Tale, there is nothing worse in life than wasted talent. That is what we are seeing with this New York Giants defense, and it disgusts me. Mac Jones, Alex, didn't have an incompletion until the third quarter. I can't get over that stat. And through the first 2 quarters of this game, the 49ers were averaging 7 yards per carry. What does Shane Bowen do here? What does he do well? Name me one thing that Shane Bowen does well. Yeah, maybe
Checks.
rests.
He cashes his check. That's about it.
Exactly. Sits on his millions. I don't know what else he does because, again, the Giants get shredded on the ground. They get shredded through the air. When it's crucial moments and they need a stop, Shane Bowen makes the wrong play call. I mean, listen, Alex, I have been ranting and raving for weeks now on this podcast about how the Giants run way too much man coverage. They run the most man coverage out of anybody in the NFL. You would think when they're down to cornerback number 6 because of injuries, all right, you know what? Let's change the scheme. Let's make it a little bit easier on the secondary. Let's not run all this man coverage. No, let's run more man coverage. That's what Shane Bowen says. Make it make sense. Corey Black out there one-on-one on an island in man coverage with Jawan Jennings. Easy touchdown, easy pickings. Obviously, pitch and catch football. It's just ridiculous. Shane Bowen is awful at his job. He does not deserve to be the New York Giants defensive coordinator. We have individuals playing good football, Brian Burns being one of them, but we do not have a collective defense playing at a high level, at an NFL level right now, because Shane Bowen doesn't know how to utilize his players. He's terrible and he needs to go.
I mean, can we just, why are you not putting... You have Juwan Jennings on the outside, and he's basically aligned in the slot. It's so far in. Why do you not have Andrew Phillips on him? Why do you have Andrew Phillips on him? That's your best cornerback right now. And you have Corey Black, who's a 7th-round rookie, who does not look like an NFL player. But to go back to what you said, ultra charming soft. Charming ultra soft. Deontay Banks is only playing because there's nobody else. But that's been the story of the Giants, Anthony. This guy's coaching because there's nobody else. That's Shane Bowen's story, too. The only reason he's on this team is because there was nobody else that wanted to work for Brian Daboll. He has to be fired. He has to be. Because the Giants will not get a single look from a decent coordinator as long as Brian Daboll is on this team. Because the truth of the matter is, nobody in their right mind is going to trust their job security with a sinking ship. Not only is sinking, the ship is sunk. The ship is sunk. It's at the bottom of the ocean. If you want to go and drown down there with Brian Daboll, it's just career death. You're just putting your career to death. That's what you're doing. And listen, Deontay Banks is playing like he wants to be traded. Okay? Let's make that very clear. He's making business decisions. His lack of effort is business decisions. Okay? Second thing, Dexter Lawrence. Either Carl Banks is right, nobody respects you anymore, or he's also playing to be traded. Okay? Because there's no way that Dexter Lawrence went from the player that he was to what we're seeing right now because of an elbow injury, and he's fully recovered. Okay? What we are seeing from Dexter Lawrence is not a bad player. We're seeing a player that does not care anymore. You're seeing a player that is not exerting effort. That's the reality. He is not trying. He's playing to be traded. That is what the Giants do to their talent. They let the good ones go, and the good ones that stay, they force them to want out. The Giants continuously shoot themselves in the foot. So, what have we learned today, Anthony? Nothing new. But Shane Bowen should be gone tonight. Should be fired tonight. You couldn't possibly have anything worse than what we've seen. I know the secondary was shredded, but there is no excuse for Christian McCaffrey to be running around with nobody guarding him. Multiple times. There should be somebody on him at all times. Always spying on Christian McCaffrey. Always. But no. He's open running around down there. And then Corey Black's like, brother, you're playing cornerback. Why is he crashing into the box like a linebacker? He's not even looking at the ball. I mean, he is completely out of sorts. Completely out of sorts. And we have other players on this team that were here longer than him. Like, I really don't understand what Shane Bowen's doing. I don't know what his game plan. I don't know what he's doing out there. It's crazy, right? And the fact of the matter, this team has given up. You see it in their effort. You see it in their performance, right? There's only two players that have not given up: Jackson Dart and Brian Burns. Those are the two guys, and I'll throw in like guys like Abdul Carter still making plays and whatnot, but like the actual effort, I saw even Andrew Thomas, Anthony, gave up on plays today. You saw his body language at the end of the game. He just gave up on plays. You got to play through the whistle. That is a coaching requirement. These guys do not feel like they have to play through the whistle. They feel like they can get away with that without consequences and just cash their paychecks. Darius Slayton dropped a dot. $36 million for booty cheeks we're getting. Nothing from Darius Slayton. Nothing. Okay? Joe Shane is responsible for that too. So, like, right now, this is an organizational disaster class. Nobody gets a free pass for what we're watching right now.
Nobody. And I want to say this, Alex. There is still 7 games left this season. And this is how this team has begun to give up. We are seeing it in real time. You're right. You're citing examples of players who gave up in this game. You're not wrong to cite those examples. That is true. That's what's happening right now. Only in week 10. 7 games left in the season. If the team is already giving up and already deciding, I'm not going to play for this coaching staff, then why are you planning on keeping them around? You shouldn't be. You should be getting prepared to move on, to clean house, to bring in a new staff. That's what John Mara needs to be preparing for right now after watching a performance like this. And Alex, this game today never made it more readily apparent to me. It already was obvious, but even more so now, that Jackson Dart, special talent with no help. And I'm talking about no help in the playmaker department. Of course, Scadaboo's down with the injury, still praying for him, but he's down and he's out. And now you're talking about an offense that features Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Bo Collins, Gunnar Olszewski, Ray McLeod. This is awful. And I don't think that the Giants, I don't think it's in the best interest to allow Jackson Dart to go out there and play with this group of players around him for the next 7 games. That's detrimental to his growth. And you know what else is detrimental to his growth, Alex? A terrible head coach, and that's what he has. I don't care that Jackson Dart was Brian Dable's guy. I don't care whose guy he was. He was my guy too. Should I be the head coach of the New York Giants, Alex? Because Jackson Dart was my guy during the draft. Oh, okay, so I should be. No. What we're seeing is a promising young talent being wasted by a bad coaching staff. And I promise you, if you look at the way that this kid plays, the majority of the plays that he makes on his own, out of structure, scrambling, creating. When the play breaks down, because it breaks down so often because the play calls are so bad, that's when Jackson Dart looks special, because he says, you know what? This offense sucks. I'm the offense. Let me handle this myself. That's what Jackson Dart does. And I guarantee you, Alex, if the Giants get a good coach coaching him, you'll see a monster unleashed. in
Yeah.
MetLife Stadium. That's the potential of Jackson Dart. Everybody around the league can see this too. It's not just us as fans saying this. It's Tom Brady. It's Kyle Shanahan. It's Robert Saleh. It's Sean Payton. It's Matthew Stafford. These are all players off the top of my head that I know of that I've seen who have come out and spoken about how talented Jackson Dart is and how impressive he is. Everybody is ranting and raving about this kid's talent. So I don't care that Brian Daboll rants and raves about his talent. So does everybody else. So do a lot more talented coaches. Coaches who could potentially step in here and do a much better job than Brian Daboll. Go look at what happened in New England. Drake May is an MVP candidate this season. Last year, he had a bad head coach. You know what people said? You can't fire Gerard Mayo. You're going to mess up the continuity for Drake May. You're going to derail his development going into year 2. And then they got him a real head coach with a real offensive coordinator, a real staff, and real talent around him, and now he's an MVP candidate. So don't think back to 2019-20 when the Giants fired Pat Shurmur and hired Joe Judge. Don't think back to that. Think to more recent examples that actually worked out. The Giants making a bad hiring in 2020 should not prevent them from firing a bad coach now and trying to right the ship and get a good coach in 2026, because that needs to be priority number one. Get you a coach that can actually propel Jackson Dart to success.
Yeah, well, you want to know the perfect example of that? Well, the Giants are 2-7. You want to know how important coaching is? The 49ers just showed us. They're just as injured as we are. They have no pass rushers. Like, their whole pass rush is out. They're done. They didn't even have their starting quarterback in. They don't have Brandon Ayuk. Like, they have some better units, but we have other better units. Like, their coaching, they're 6-3 because of their coaching. We're 2-7 because of our coaching. Okay? So, it's obvious. The writing's on the wall. I don't need to beat a dead horse, but I at this point, there's nothing else to do. We're Giants fans experiencing the same pain over and over and over again every single week for the most part. And Jackson Dart is the future, dude. He looks tremendous. I mean, for God's sakes, why is Gunnar Olszewski the first reception of the season, a 24-yard touchdown pass, but like Darius Slayton can't catch the ball? Like, what are we doing here? And not to mention, why is Ray McLeod playing reps? Like, why is Gunnar Olszewski not playing receiver more? Clearly, he's more capable. Ray McLeod was signed this week after being cut by the Falcons. And now he's starting for the Giants. The Giants, they had a cornerback out there today, Anthony. I didn't even know it was on the roster. I was like, who the hell is that guy? They plucked him off. The Jets. Guys, the Jets are one of the worst teams in the league, and we took 2 of their players, one of them being one of our own draft picks, by the way, took 2 of their players and then started them at cornerback, or at least gave them starting reps. Do you understand how ridiculous you have to be? How deep down the freaking Mariana Trench of absolute disaster you have to be to rationalize decision-making like this? And these guys go to work tomorrow, and they discuss what happened in the game. And you have to imagine, Anthony, everyone's looking at each other like who's to blame? You know, like, who are we blaming for this again? Everybody knows everybody sucks. That's the thing in the coaching staff. Everyone's like, okay, let's go back to work. Let's plan for the next week. We got to forget this week. Keep going. They're just doing a job at this point. It's just a job. They're just doing a job to get paid. They're not actually doing anything to be winners, but they haven't been for a very long time. So for those that think Brian Daboll needs to stay for Jackson Dart, he is actively helping him lose in front of us. If you believe that, you are part of the problem because you're not seeing beyond the ridiculousness of that logic. The most clear logic we can possibly digest and understand is that the coaching is holding these players back. And the 49ers just made the perfect example of that you could imagine. A 6-3 team without their starting quarterback and with their whole defense shredded to pieces. No Fred Warner, none of those guys. And then you look at the Giants, who are 2-7, who have one of the best pass rushers in the league. Their offensive line is taking big steps forward, and they have their quarterback healthy, who's making lots of plays. He had 3 touchdowns today. You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about different levels of coaching. And if the Giants get some coaches in here with experience, a winning pedigree, who can convince good coordinators to come in here and help elevate the standard of this organization, this team isn't going to be a bus stop for other teams anymore. It is going to be a place you come and you suffer. And you have to grind out those games. You're damaged by the time you lose. You're demoralized on third downs. You have big moments that come up. You have intercept. The Giants don't turn the ball over, Anthony. They don't force fumbles. They don't have interceptions. They don't turn the ball over. They don't do anything. They had the one interception taken from Abdul Carter. I think it was ruled a fumble technically from Brian Burns, but like that's the first time I think I've seen an interception in weeks. You know what I mean? Like, we know these things. It's really, really frustrating. And like, at what point do you just have to fire them? Like, they're just letting them survive the season because they don't want to make in-season changes. But what's the difference? At least see if somebody else emerges from the woodworks that may be able to offer some value. You know, at least give somebody a chance that doesn't have one right now. Because maybe you find something that you like that you didn't know about before. Right now, the Giants are just letting Shane Bowen die at the stake. Letting Brian Daboll just suffer the consequences of him being bad. Like, what do you have to lose?
There's nothing to lose. You're a 2-7 football team. It's time to make changes, right? I mean, listen. A few weeks ago, when the Giants were still technically in the race for the NFC East with another win over the Philadelphia, they could be back in it. Well, then Cam Scadaboo got injured. He's done for the season, and the Giants lost on the road to Philadelphia. Going into this game, this defense was objectively one of the worst in the NFL, and now a backup quarterback that the 49ers trotted out there tore them to shreds. It's time to move on from Shane Bowen, man. It's time to fire him. He's blown so many leads. He plays soft. His defense doesn't play for him. They clearly don't respect him. It's time to move on from Shane Bowen. And you want to talk about respect? I don't think that the players respect Brian Daboll either. This team just looks like their heart isn't in it. And it's only week 10. Once again, we're talking about moving on from coaches and looking ahead to the offseason, and it's November 2nd. That's just so depressing to me. Like, this is so sad to me, what's happened over the last several years as New York Giants fans. But I'll just wrap up with this, Alex. I'll say Jackson Dart's the truth. The kid every week does something that impresses me. He gets better at certain things every single week. That touchdown throw to Gunnar Olszewski, he led him in a way that shielded him away from the defender. He completed that pass with perfect accuracy. He hasn't done that the previous few weeks as consistently. Now all of a sudden he's pushing it downfield 20 plus yards and he's shaping the shot. Basically, he's moving the ball in a way that protects the receiver so that he can complete the catch. He had that other dime to Darius Slayton right over his shoulder, perfectly placed. That's another downfield throw. We said, hey, what was the flaw that he had in his first few starts? Was inaccurate when throwing the ball downfield. Today, several deep balls downfield, perfectly placed. He's also still running, creating. Jackson Dart's really good, man. And I'll just, again, wrap it on that. I still feel like there's promise for the future. I feel like this Giants team has talent. I feel like long-term, there is success waiting in the wings with these young, promising players. They're just being squandered by a lame duck head coach and his awful staff. And I can't wait. At this point, Alex, I just can't wait for them to blow it up and make these changes because they feel inevitable and they are definitely necessary. So hopefully we do get those changes. Hopefully Jackson Dart in 2026 can lead us to the promised land. But for now, I think we're once again talking about the offseason in November, and that just absolutely sucks. So another bad performance for the New York Giants. We'll continue to break it down and give you guys the recap throughout the week, and of course discuss any firings that could potentially be happening. Tuesday, it's the trade deadline, so will the Giants finally move on from Jalen Hyatt, Evan Neal, and Deonte Banks? Possibly, but also still very unlikely that anybody wants to trade for those bums. But now, we'll see if the New York Giants do bring in any wide receiver help for Jackson Dart. I would like to see them do that because it's about 2025 and 2026 and beyond. But unfortunately, they have a GM on the hot seat, so he's probably not going to be allowed to make those trades. We'll see how it all goes, and of course, we'll update you on everything right here on Fireside Giants. Do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and follow us on social media at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Jackson Dart.
Perfect.